as you know, for the past few weeks, past 6 weeks actually, I have. Wait a second, I gotta turn my light. All right, that feel better now. For the past 6 weeks, I've been going to grief counseling, grief coaching session, and I was there in support of the woman that was running the grief coaching session, the supporting her, helping her to build her program, doing some recording and technical work for her on the business side. And I was really there supporting her. I've been through some grief in life, but I wasn't there for that purpose. Long story short, um, yesterday yesterday was the last day of this 6 week coaching program. But interestingly enough, the person that was there that wasn't necessarily in a place of grief, myself, um, on Sunday, the day before, my horse died. So my horse decides to die on Sunday. And like I said, I had been going to these grief sessions, but I wasn't there for that reason. I was there in the supportive role. And but on Sunday, my horse died. And it wasn't just one of the horses, right? It wasn't like that. No, no, no. It was my horse. My horse died on Sunday. It was the one that started the whole program. Thank you so much, Trash Talking Cupcake. The one that started the whole program, my miniature horse Max. And so I'm going to tell you the story. And like I didn't post anything over the weekend really, um, and I thought I was going to be cool, like posting it today, and I found out that I wasn't. But anyway, so this is what happened. So on Sunday we were going to a birthday party. He had a birthday party on Sunday, and so we were there on Sunday. It was Sunday afternoon. His birthday party was scheduled for 3 o'clock. Thanks for the hugs from KC. Um, and so we're getting ready for this birthday party. I wake up and I get him and I give him a bath. I wash him up. It's been winter, so he's been dirty, right? Thanks, A Medley. So he's been dirty, and so out in the field, out in the pasture. So I'm washing him up. He's getting this great bath. So I wash him up really great and um, clean him up. We're just taking our time. It's an easy Sunday morning, easy like Sunday morning. So we're taking our time and I'm washing him up and just things are just great. The day is beautiful, everything. So we get washed up and he's drying off and I have him. It was kind of warm. He was in the lane. I had the fans on, just blowing. He's cool. He's relaxed. He's standing there. The other horses, Arizona Bob, they're there. And so they were all there. And so I'm, just doing some things, prepping the van, prepping the trailer and everything. So after a while, he's drying off and I give him a little food. He gets a little food and he's still standing there and he's cool. He finishes his food. I start saddling him up. I saddle him up, get him all dressed and ready to go to this party. And so he's all saddled up. I get his saddle on him. It was something I really took extra care with him this particular day because hey, this is really like the first big party of the summer of the season. So I'm doing his hair and I have this, hairspray hole that I put in there from called Gotta Be. So it's a little cold spray and I put that in his mane and slick him down. He's looking great. Make sure he's smelling good. So he's all good. He's standing there. He's ready to go. And it's 2 o'clock. So at 2 o'clock, I decide I'm going to go and get cleaned up myself. So I go in and I start getting washed up. And he's standing there under the fans. He has his saddle on. He's good to go. 2 o'clock. Around 2:15, I get a knock on the door. Um, I was there by myself prior to everything, but my mentor and friend showed up around 2:15. So 2:15, I get this knock on the door. I'm getting dressed at this point, and he's like, "Hey, Brian," and I said, "All right, I'll be out in a minute." So I go out and I get to the barn, and it's 2:22, and I look inside the barn, and Max is laying there. He's just laying on the ground. And he doesn't have on his saddle, doesn't have on his saddle pad. He doesn't have on anything. He's just laying there. And I'm looking and I'm like, what was he doing? And I walk up and he's not breathing. And my mentor is talking to me at this point as I'm walking in. He's like, I was trying to resuscitate him. He said, I was doing like compressions on him, everything, trying to get him back. He said, but he just wouldn't. Said, nothing was like wrapped around his neck, nothing like that. He was just down. I'm like, and I'm looking at him and he's laying there. And I'm like, Max, what are you doing? Talking to him a little bit. And he's just down. So I'm trying to navigate this story because I'm going to try to keep from going to the emotional part. But and so I'm like, this this is how I immediately respond. I'm like, this Buster is dead. I'm like, you Buster. I'm like, you y- you're died. You dead. You're dead. You died. And so I'm talking to him. And at this point I'm thinking, all right, but we got a birthday party to go to. So I call and I'm like, hey, I need to tell you that I'm not gonna be able to make it to the birthday party. My horse dies. And with that, I lost it. I mean, I was I'm on the phone. I lost it. Full on wreck. And, you know, I'm like, at this point, I'm just bawling because this horse, Max, he was the first one. He was the one. When my daughter said, "Daddy," when she was 5, she's like, "Daddy, will you buy me a horse?" I was like, "Yes." When you turn 7, she's like, "I want to be a vet." I was like, "When you turn 7, I'll buy you a horse." And I didn't know anything about horses, but this was the one that I chose, and God blessed us with him, and he was great, right? He let kids ride him. He could pull a wagon. I knew nothing about horses, and this was the first horse that I picked ever. I'm like, I couldn't have picked a better horse. So, like, Max has been with our family. It would be 12 months. I mean, 12 years next month. And and so and so so I'm on the phone and I'm talking to the woman whose birthday it is. And she happened to be a woman that was in my part of my programs, and I had trained her. And her daughter her daughter was turning 4. She was having this huge party, Western party themed out and everything like that. I didn't know this at the time, but she's having this huge party, all these guests. And Max is laying there and I'm talking to her and I'm bawling. And I was like, I just I just I can't make it. I was like, I can't make it. My horse has died. He died. He just died. I mean, in 20 minutes. He's such a buster, right? Because I cleaned him. He knew. I cleaned him up, put hairspray in his hair, slicked him down, gave him some food, and he waited till I walked away to go get cleaned up before he was like, "Hey, man, I'm not working this year. I'm clocking out." Now, I'll tell you something else. The day before, the day before this, I had met with a school administrator because, as I've told you, I was like, it's time for me to begin speaking in schools and sharing. And so I was talking to this school administrator, and we were talking about what makes me unique, and I was talking about the horse program, and we were sharing, and the whole program that Max is like the centerpiece of the program, right? That we would go to schools, he would travel with me, go to schools, we do assemblies, all that. So when I first wrote my first book, it was Max and Friends. That's what it's named. Hey, Jen. Max and Friends books. This is Max, right? He's the centerpiece. And so I talked to a school administrator the day before and was explaining the program and how all this stuff was going to happen, and he would be traveling and everything was going on, right? The dream, talking about the dream. See, we have dreams. We dream and we don't know what's going to happen, right? So, but I was sharing the dream. We're talking about the dream, and she was, she's all in with me, and she's working me through it, helping me through it, and talking to me about getting connected with certain administrators and scheduling with principals and this whole thing. Max and friends. Next day, Max, he was like, "Nope, I'm not going. I'm not going for the trip." But it's still going to be Max and friends. It's still his legacy. And he's still the one that started this whole thing. And next day he's gone. But we're there and we're prepped up, and I was supposed to go to this party for a little girl. And I called and I told him I couldn't come, and my mind was just like frantic, right? Because Max is dead. That very morning, I had a conversation with someone, and they asked me, "How long do you think Max will be around?" And I said, "He'll probably." This happened that morning. I was like, "He'll probably be around another 20 years." I was like, "Max is young." I was like, he's according to my calculations, he's about 17. I was like, Max will be around probably another 20 years. Max was like, "Man, I'm not going to be around another 20 hours." Within 5 hours of that conversation, he was gone. So crazy. And so I'm on the phone, I'm bawling, like just losing it, talking through this. I'm like, I'm going to get you your money back. I'm going to refund you, your money. And I'm talking about that. And she's like so gracious. She's like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Take your time. Don't rush anything." And so I get off the phone and I make a couple calls. And then I was like, I told her, I said, "I'm not going to be able to make it." I said, "The other horse, I have another mini horse." I was like, "But she's dirty." I was like, "She's dirty. She's all white with a brown face." I was like, "She's dirty. And I know she's full of mud." I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get her ready." It's like 2:45. The party's at 3 o'clock. I was like, "Doc can get her ready." And I get off the phone. So I make a couple other calls. And as I'm talking, sharing, I was like, I have to go to this party. My mentor is there. He's like, you still got to go. He's like, "You got to go. Go to the party." He's like, "I'll take care of the horse." He's like, "Just get me a tarp. Just cover him up right now." So I go get a tarp, and I cover him up. And my mentor is there. He's like, I'll take care of him, and so and I go to the field, and Marble, who's all white, she's clean. Marble's clean. Well, she was clean because it had poured rain the night before and the day before. So she had basically got a shower, and she was clean. I mean, she had a couple little dusty spots, and I was able to just, like clean her up. And then I got her dressed. And so Marble, I ended up taking her to the party. My mentor is taking care of Max. And I end up taking Marble to the party. And Marble, she's not like Max. She's different. She's younger. She's like 5. She's not used to being by herself, and she gets real frantic. And so by the time I get to the party, which is only around the corner, it wasn't very far, she scratched her nose. Her nose is bleeding. And she's like scratched her nose. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, can I take this horse to the party with her nose bleeding?" I'm like, I'm just at this point, I'm sweating like profusely because it has been an hour of nonstop adrenaline, and I'm sweating, and but I'm singing while I'm going through this, and I was like, I'm the greatest showman. I was like, "I'm the greatest showman. The show must go on." I was like, "There's a little girl who is going to have a horse at her birthday party. I got to make this happen. This is her dream. And I'm thinking about my daughter. I was like, it was my daughter's dream. My daughter was 5. This little girl was 4. I was like, it was my daughter's dream. I got to make this happen. I get to the party and I got marble and her nose is bleeding. I'm like, I'm tearing parts of my shirt and like trying to wipe off her face. And so I walk up. I'm like, all right, we got to make this happen. I walk up and they were happy that we were there. Pouring sweat is just pouring down. I'm like, this is the worst. I'm like trying to wipe it. It is like somebody opened the faucet on my head. And I'm like wiping my head and I have my cowboy hat on. It's dripping off my cowboy hat. I feel horrible that my presentation is so bad. I felt like a mess. There's all these decorations, cowboy hats everywhere, bandanas. And I was like, I had to be here. Like, this mom had put this all together for her daughter, and it was a Western cowboy theme. I'm like, it wasn't just like one cowboy hat. It was cowboy hats everywhere. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I came. So we do the party. Marble does well. And, they were very gracious and glad that I was there. The kids had a blast. And I was singing The Greatest Showman. Everything you ever want, everything you ever need is here right in front of you. This is where you want to be. This is the greatest show. I'm singing to myself to keep myself going. But let me just tell you, when I got back to that farm, it was Breakdown City. And I hadn't told my daughter yet. So it was around 3, 4, 5. It was around 6:30. I was cleaning up marble, and after that, I'm like, okay. I hadn't told my daughter. I hadn't told her that her horse had died. And so I had to make that call. Hey, Loop Loop. And so I'm like, that was her birthday present. And I'm like, he's been a part of our family 12 years. I was like, and for me, going through, there were some dynamics going through a divorce and how it impacted our family. And that little horse had been with me, right? Like, that little dude, he had been in the pasture with me and he had heard conversations and, he saw me cry, right, through that process. And I'm like, and there's my daughter. One of my daughters is on the broadcast now. And she doesn't know what I'm telling you all. So she's hearing it for the first time too. But like, he is like a connection to my family who's not always with me. And one of parts of me being a dad, okay, we're going to do this without needing the tissues. Parts of being a dad, I was like, I want my kids to be able to dream, and I want to be able to support their dreams so that their dreams can come true. That's my approach. I'm like, no, I want my kids' dream. I want to be able to support them. My daughter she wanted to print shirts. I'm like, here's a heat press. Here's what you need, vinyl. Like, my son talks about mowing grass. I'm like, we're going to get some lawnmowers. My other daughter wants a horse. I'm like, right, here's a horse. So when they're dreaming, I want them to feel free to dream out loud because I want to hear their dreams and I want to be the champion for their dreams to help their dreams come true. And I had to call her and tell her that a part of her dream had died. And it was hard because I felt like, oddly enough, and this doesn't make any sense, but I thought I would just grow old with that horse. I thought he would just always be around. And I have said that I will be in this business, like with Max, as long as he's here. Like, Max has a forever home. Like, As long as Max is here, I'm in this horse business. And right, like the farm, all that. I was like, as long as Max is here, this. And then so for Max to die, I'm like, I saw everybody leaving before Max. Like Max was going to be old with me, right? I was going to get old and Max was going to be old. And like he was just going to be there. This was the assumption that the horse was always going to be there. Like it never even crossed my mind that the horse could die. But I had to call her. And I felt like in that moment, real talk, I felt like I failed. I felt like I failed my child because this horse naturally died. Wasn't nothing happened. He was perfectly fine. His food hadn't changed. Nothing. Like he was living his life. Cool. He had just got a bath. He had his hair done. He had a little snack. He was standing there under the fans. He had his saddle on. Like everything was normal in his life. But I felt like I failed. And truth be told, for a moment, I felt like, dang, it was another hit. It was another blow in life. Like the day before, I'm talking to this school administrator about Max, and we're going to go out and go on tour across the United States, go on tour. And I was like planning out how I could stack hay in the trailer, and Max would go and he, do assemblies and all these things. Dreaming. Right? These things would happen. I felt like I failed. And I was like, I had to call her and I started crying, telling her. And I was like, I didn't think that it was going to hit me this kind of way. Truth be told, I posted it today. I shared it today. I started crying after I posted it. I was like, this horse has me crying a lot. Like, but he's been around for 12 years and he wasn't just a horse. Like he was a part of our family, right? He was a part of a dream. He was a part of a dad wanting to serve his kids. Right? That horse used to live in our backyard. He used to escape. And he once ran miles away. And I remember one time a family was driving down the street and this little girl told her mom, she's like, "Mommy, there's a horse." And her mom thought she was joking until she actually looked out and saw a horse. There was a little horse. He had escaped our backyard. He was like an escape artist. But there was a dream. And so in the midst of the death, him dying and it being sad, I still was like, well, today I was like just doing some things. I walked out the feed and I'll normally call him. I'll be like, "Come on, Max, Max." And he'll come running up to the gate because he knows it's time for food. And I was looking and I knew he wasn't there. This is like the first time in 12 years because this is a everyday job, right? This is a everyday, like your relationships. It's an everyday thing. When I went through all that stuff with my family, like I had to still take care of that horse. And he wasn't there for the first time in 12 years. And so it was like, I was like, man, it's just so weird. It's just so weird. It changes everything about the farm. I go to put Arizona out, who's the big stallion, right? I go to put Arizona out, but Arizona, Max is his little pasture pal. So Max and Arizona hang out together because Arizona can't go out with the girls or else he's going to, try to breed them. And Bob really can't hang out with them because Bob is old. And he might actually kill Bob or really wound him. So I had to figure out how this is going to work. And I was able to put, Bob in one of the round pen enclosures. So that way, at least Arizona could see him. The little goat Cliff, hangs out with Max. And I promise you, that little goat Cliff understood that something happened because he never does this. But everywhere I went today, he stayed with me and he would stop and he would face me and he would look me dead in my face as if to ask me if I was good. At one point, he stood by the fence and just watched me for like 10 minutes while I was crying. I'm like, what what are you doing, Cliff? He was just watching. But he would hang out with Max in the stall, and so I had to take Cliff and put Cliff in the stall with Bob so that Cliff could have company. So he could be there with Bob. See, death changes things. Death changes things. When something dies, it changes things. Part of the dream died. The whole dream didn't die. Part of the dream. Max was part of the dream. He's still going to have a legacy. There's still going to be books written. And I was talking to my school administrator friend, and I said, I said, even in this now, I said, I have some stories to share with young kids because program's still Max and Friends, but Max isn't here. So now the conversation for them, part of the story is Max, he died. His friends have to deal with this situation. So I'll be able to share grief and loss with those children. And I believe that there will be kids in the audience that understand loss and death. And they'll remember Max. They'll remember the story about Max and how when he died, all of his farm friends were affected. So there's still a story. See, there's still an assignment. Even though something died, it's not the end. Max is okay. Max, I've been I've been talking to him like, Max, you buster. Like, just like you, like grumpy old man, just gonna clock out when it's time to go to work. You're like, no announcement. But he's like, no. No, I just enriched the story. I made the story richer. Right. And so, like, I was talking to my daughter, and oddly enough, just last week, she was talking about wanting to get into composting and learning about soil management and all that. Obviously, I had to dig Max's grave. So I dig a grave, you know, 4.5 feet, 5 feet deep. And I'm standing in it and I have to put my horse down in this hole. And I was talking and I was thinking about it because now in the last few years, I've been learning about this composting, all this stuff, and how when something dies, I'm like, Max now is forever a part of the atmosphere. His life isn't over. He's now going into the ground. And there's going to be a process where he's going to return life back to things. There's going to be grass that grows. There's going to be flowers that grow. The soil is going to be, there's some things that happen. I'm like, it's actually pretty amazing. And so I just started like looking at things just differently. I'm like, I had to thank God. I was like, well, God, I've been blessed. You blessed me because I bought this horse 12 years ago and I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I buy this horse. I don't know what I'm doing. I put my child on this horse like just a few minutes after buying them, not knowing that little horses can run off with kids. I didn't know little horses could run fast. I knew nothing. I'm telling you, when I say I knew nothing, I knew nothing. I didn't know that horse could take off running with my child. I just thought, oh, this is fine. He's little. But he was a gem. And so now I think about how my daughter was saying, I have the book. A friend of mine said, listen, I told him he does composting. I said, my daughter wants to get into that. He says, I have an extra book. So he gives me this book, Community Scale Composting System. So he gives me this book for her. Then we're talking just a few days later because I have to put Max into the ground. in this whole process, how life, I was like, he's a part of he's a part of the next season. Not in my life so much, but even in her life. She's not riding Max anymore. She's past those days. She's 18 years old now. She's past those times. And so as she transitions into something new in her life, he transitions to something new in her life. He was like, no, hold on. She's going into composting. I need to go into the soil. He's like, you're not burying me. You're planting me. You're gonna put me in the ground, but I'm going to give you something back in return. I'm going to give something back. And so I just had to start looking at it differently, even while I'm crying, even while I'm grieving, even while I'm sad. I was like, there's still a story in this. And I don't want to miss the story. I don't want to miss the lesson. I don't want to miss what's going on in this process. And farm life, this thing, this stuff, this nature stuff gives you a different perspective. Gives you a different perspective. And I'm like, man, all these dreams that were touching this one dream. People call, can you be there for a birthday party? Can this and that and all these things. I'm like, a lot of people were impacted by that little horse. I didn't think that was the case when we first got him. I was wanting to be a dad that said yes to my daughter's, at that time, extreme dream. I'm like, you're 5, you want to be a vet. You're 6, you want to be a vet. You're almost 7, you want to be a vet. My parents bought me baseball gloves. You want to be a vet? I'm going to buy you this horse. So I said yes to a dream that opened up this world of opportunity. You guys wouldn't know me for creating posts about horses and nature and any of that kind of stuff had it not been for that dream, because that was not my life. That wasn't the world that I was in. I played sports. I played baseball. Like, so God took her dream, which it challenged me to say yes. See, this is where faith comes in. I was like, if faith without putting some work to it is not really faith. That's dead. That there's no work. So there's got to be work. So she's like, God's like, oh, okay. You want to be this kind of dad? Well, watch this request. Daddy, will you buy me a horse? Yes. I'll say yes and believe God's going to help me. Yes. Next thing comes down. Oh, my neighbor, runs a runs a barn in Philadelphia, and my neighbor has connections, and so now all this stuff starts opening up, and I start meeting new people and getting into different environments, and people are teaching me, but it all happened off of the yes to the dream. People that I'm looking at names. I'm looking at Jennifer. I would have never met Jennifer, like, and known about like farming and all that kind of stuff. There are so many things that happened that impacted my life in certain kinds of ways. I may have never done my business in the gym. There are so many things that are connected to the yes. I wouldn't be here probably having this conversation. So many things connected to your yes to a dream. So many things you couldn't even imagine would happen. When I said yes to Max, when I said yes to the dream of getting a horse and we get Max, then I founded a school, a pre-K through 8. And instead of And instead of having gym class, just like normal gym class, we had horsemanship as a part of the program. Why? Because I had a horse. So I was like, and I had connections to a barn. And so I said, we can take these kids and give them a different kind of experience. So these kids that have been labeled with ADD and ADHD and anxiety and all this stuff, kids that perhaps would never see animals like this, they get an experience. So horsemanship was a part of the program in elementary school for city kids and suburban kids, and we would take them to the barn 2 days a week. See, there's some things connected to your yes. And so, like for me, when I cry, not only crying because of like that he's no longer here, but it's because there's been a lot attached to this, a lot of lives, a lot of dreams, a lot of hopes, right? There's so much stuff connected to the tears, so many experiences connected to the tears, hopes, dreams, aspirations, talks. Like, I didn't realize how much I talked to that little horse. I didn't even realize it until today with a barn farm still with so many animals, it felt just a bit more empty. It felt a little empty today. I'm like, all the other horses are there, but none of them are on his level. He ran this place. He ran the farm. He could do whatever. He had the VIP status. So while the rest of them might be in, I might just let him go out. I might just let him walk around and just do whatever. He was on VIP status. So things were different today. The death changed everything. See, there's some beauty in this. When things die, it changes everything. When something dies, we don't have to hold on to try to keep things the same. Things cannot be the same anymore. Like that's the reality of death. When something dies, things need to change. I don't I don't even want things to be the same anymore. They can't be. See, if things can remain the same, then there wasn't really a purpose or a presence or an impact being made. When things die, there should be a change. There should be changes that are made. Sometimes we just want to hold on and keep things the way they are. That's not the case. I knew immediately. I was like, wait a second. See, Max, he was this way. Max, I could take him to the party. Max, I could count on him at the drop of a dime. Max, he was solid, rock solid. Marble, she different. Marble, she's young. Max was older. He was settled. Marble, she's young. She gets nervous. She needs the herd around. She's not used to being by herself. Max, he was by himself, chilling in the backyard at our house. It could just be Max and some food, and he was good. He didn't need all the crowd. He's like, I'm good. Just make sure I have something to eat. So him dying changes everything. He knew how to pull a wagon. Marble doesn't. Changes everything. Now I have to teach her how to pull a wagon. Max was safe with the kids, and I had to. I knew I could Max everything. I knew everything about him. All his. She's learning things. She's safe. She's good, but it's different. It's different. But she's good. She lets the kids spray paint her. Max, he was dark brown. black even. If they painted him, it really wouldn't show up. Marble being all white, she wears the unicorn horn better than Max. The unicorn horn didn't look so good on Max. Didn't have that same razzmatazz. On her, she looks amazing. She's amazing looking unicorn. Max, not so much. Things are different. Things change. You start to think different, but it's still Max and Friends. It's still his legacy. You still get to take the life of what you experienced, even after the death. You get to take it with you and let it impact what you do going forward. And let me say this. Last couple days has been tiring. Like emotionally tiring. Like it has fatigued me the last couple days. The death of a horse. Not just because he was a horse, but because he was a part of our family. So there's that too. Like it's okay. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to be tired. I didn't feel like posting, but I posted. I shared it. I thought I would be too tired to do this, but I'm like, no, there's a message in this. There's hope in this. There's encouragement in this. And I think the beauty of this is that you get to see me in the times, in the moments when things may not look like the best or they may not be the most ideal situations. No, like you get to know, like, hey, no, Brian doesn't, he's just not just talking just to be talking. I'm like, no, like death. It visited my home this weekend. My grandfather, while this was happening, my grandfather was in the hospital having heart issues. I shared that with you all last week. I'm like, so there are things on my mind. There are things on my heart. And I was tired, and I'm tired now. But I was like, no, there's a message in this. Everything that I had gone through, that I've been in the grief coaching session for the last 6 weeks. And on the last day, being yesterday, the day before that, Max decides to die. Think that's just a coincidence? I don't. I'm like, what? Are you for real? I'm like, Max, that's how we're gonna do this? Things have to change now. Everything changes. Everything changes. And it's sad, hurts your heart. You grieve, and you know that everything has to change. Like, he started the whole thing. He started a whole dream, made a whole impact. 12 years, which happens to be my favorite number, right? 12 years. Now everything changes. Now I don't get to call him anymore. So some of you might feel the same things in your life. You might not be grieving the death of a person or an animal. You might be grieving the death of a dream or, something that you desired in your life or some experience or whatever it might be. Going through that process is important. Go ahead and cry your tears, feel the pain, feel the disappointment. Like, you don't have to pretend that it doesn't hurt. I had no idea that I would shed so many tears over this little horse. But I know it was bigger than that. He wasn't just a little horse. He was a part of a greater assignment to impact lives. He was a part of dreams. So there was something on the inside that he was connected to greater than what his stature was. Right. And so sometimes we look at what's going on in our life, don't minimize it. Like, we named him Max on purpose because we knew he was small, but we named him Max. Max the mini horse. We knew it was bigger, right? We wanted to play on words. You think Max, think maybe something big gonna come running out the barn? Then here he comes. Small, right? So his impact was big though. I mean, his impact was big. He has shirts, he has books. The first book I ever had published came from him, right? Like, big, big impact. And it's okay. So I wanted to share, right? I wanted to share my story, share my experience with you, and hopefully encourage you as well. Whether you're going through something now or not, just want to encourage you that it's okay for everything to change. It's okay. Like there's a season for everything. This is a season of grief. Time to live and the time to die. And so as it stands, that was the assignment. That was the call for the day. I was like, all right, Max, rest in pasture. You know, like, but he went out in style. He did it right. He made sure I cleaned him, did his hair, slicked him up, gave him a snack, which, he always liked to eat. He let me get him fully dressed. He let me go get cleaned up. 20 minutes later, he was gone. He did it. I got to give it to him. He did it the right way. I'm like, you're a buster for that. You're a buster because you knew we had a party and you clocked out. You clocked out with style. I got to give you that. You did clock out with style. He scuffed up his saddle, which was new, but he scuffed it. So he left a mark on his brand new saddle, which he had only worn a few times last year. I just bought him. So he scuffed it, left a mark, but he did it with style. And I think there actually would have been no better way to send him off. Like, there actually could not have been a better way. No, if I would have known that that horse was going to die in that moment, I would have wanted to do exactly that. I would have wanted to wash him. I would have wanted him to be like clean. I would have wanted to give him some food, right? I would have wanted him to feel good if I knew he was going to die in the moment that he did. So I can have no regrets because I'm like, even in your last moments, I'm like, your last moments, we actually did it right. I'm like, you couldn't have told me what to do and it'd be better than that. You got a bath, you got your hair done, you got to eat, you got dressed in your saddle one last time, and then you didn't even go to work. Like, good deal, dude. Good deal. Well played. I'm like, you went to heaven's pasture dressed in your saddle. What did he die of? I, I don't know. Time to go. I mean, he wasn't sick. He wasn't anything. He was just, it's my time to go. I think that he died because God needed me to make a change, honestly. So I think there's something in this for me that I have to hear and learn, process. I think of it that way, that this is a moment for my attention as it relates to my life. That's all I can, that's what I think, that there's something in this for me to hear. So I don't know, but he wasn't sick, totally well, totally normal. Just happened to be his moment. So what might change in my life? We'll see. You'll 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 know as I know. I don't know what it will be, but that's what I think. So stay tuned. But just want to encourage you. Just want to encourage you. And thank you all for being here. Thanks for letting me just kind of just talk, share. Thank you. I appreciate you. Because I don't know, that it helps me. I'm a verbal processor. So thank you. I appreciate it. Gonna shut it down the way that we do. And I don't know what the rest of this week holds, but I'm sure there'll be some messages that all tie together. I appreciate you all. And thank you for the encouragement and your kind words. Um, I just appreciate you. I wish I would have had been recording the screen so I could have just kept all your words. But I appreciate you. Know that they do matter. They make a difference, and so I appreciate that. It matters. Um, so let me pray. Father, thank you for this day and this this time to rejoice and be glad. Thank you for the the occasion to celebrate life and transition from one assignment to the next. Thank you for Max and his impact and how it has been anything but small. Though he might have been a miniature horse, he had a big impact. And even now, thank you for the opportunity to take this experience and expound upon it and share from it and, just give to someone that might need to hear it or be encouraged by it a perspective that might be a little different. Thank you for this wonderful family uh, and connection that we have across these airwaves and the internet, and how there's true care and love and compassion. Thank you for that. Thank you for each and every person that has been a part of this journey and their contributions to this story and um, this assignment and this mission. I thank you for each person that has passed through their own time of grief and heartbreak and transition. Thank you for how all of us at one point or another go through things, and it can be a struggle and it can be heartbreaking, but it doesn't have to be where everything stops. So though things may change, Though transitions may happen, help us to know that this is actually seed for a new season, whatever that season might be. So help us to go forward, knowing that all things can work together for our good as we are called according to your purpose, that even in this, there's a blessing. Even in this, there's growth. Even in this, there's an opportunity. Even in this, there's life. So thank you for all of these things. And I pray that as we go our separate ways, that there would be a comfort upon each one and a grace upon our hearts to love greater, to appreciate those that are in our lives, because we don't know what the next moments may hold. Thank you for that reminder that life is precious, that our relationships really do matter, and that we shouldn't take those that we have been blessed with for granted. Help us to love more. Help us to love to the max. And as we do, we pray that you would bless our relationships, our lives, our interactions in a major way. Thank you in advance for what will be done, for the lives that will be changed because of these stories and these thoughts. We thank you and we love you. Amen. All right. Love you all much. Thanks for hanging out. Have a fantastic evening and have a good night. I'm B.A. Shepherd, 2P's, ARD, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep. See ya.